that says #1 son on the license plate. I'm gonna make you proud, Daddy.
You make your daddy proud.
I'm gonna make you so proud.
You make your daddy proud.
You're gonna be so proud.
Proud?
Proud.
Well, the boy's grown up.
Garrett, you beautiful man, you. This is like your third or fourth time in the program. We have always been a massive fan of yours. You published the full Hunter Biden laptop, for those of you who don't know, at the founder of the Marco. There it is. And now you have, I guess, won your lawsuit. The Hunter Biden sued you for publishing for publishing the contents of this laptop that are his. And now Hunter Biden's arguing in court that he can no longer continue that lawsuit. So where does that stand?
Well, thanks for having me on, and I am always willing to wait for DJT. So anybody else in the world, I have all the patience in the world for him, because I think his back and forth with the press is so important, considering Joe never did that. So Hunter, Joe's son, wants to cry uncle, and he wants to cry uncle because we noticed a deposition upon him and his sugar brother, Kevin Morris, who has lent him $7 million as sort of an in-kind campaign contribution to Joe. He's wanting to dismiss the lawsuit in a way that is horrible for us. So we're not litigious people, our group. So he sued me and the nonprofit Marco Polo, but he's wanting to dismiss it without prejudice, which in non-legalese means whenever he gets a new sugar brother or a new patron, he can just bring the case again. Of course, any sane defendant would not agree to such conditions because we would be prejudiced by that. We don't want to have to deal with this. I want to move on with my life and maybe go help the government. So this is in the judge's hands now. We filed a response to his, what's called an ex parte application, which means we only had 24 hours to respond. Ex parte, again, a non-legalese, is just emergency. He filed this emergency motion on Wednesday. We had until 3 p.m. yesterday to respond to it. And we have like 4 arguments, which is there's no emergency going on. The real reason is that he doesn't want to sit for a deposition and be deposed by me or Kevin Morris, his sugar brother. And number 3, if this goes forward, we are going to be able to get discovery that he thought he would just be able to run out the clock. So we have a fact discovery. I know I'm getting in the weeds, but the case isn't technically dismissed yet because we told the judge, if you are going to grant Hunter's motion, we want our legal fees reimbursed, which for this case alone is $197,000. Wow. And now his sugar brother sued me in the nonprofit in state court. That one's $200,000. So I make this offer to Hunter publicly. If he wants to get rid of this, we will agree to a dismissal with prejudice, meaning he can't bring the case again, and that he reimburses our legal fees, which right now are about $397,000. And again, we're a nonprofit with a total budget of like $600K, Benny. So that means that half of our income, half of our donations have been fighting this man-child, this Peter Pan-like figure. He turned 55 last month, and everybody talks about him like he's a 22-year-old college sophomore sowing his wild oats. This guy's a man-child. So our demands are very reasonable. All we want is dismissal with prejudice so that Hunter can stop legally harassing me. Very reasonable. I think all of our donors, all of our grassroots donors understand why we're doing this. We don't want to continue this lawfare, but if the judge grants Hunter's request, Hunter will be doing essentially, I'm not a golfer, but it's essentially a legal mulligan, right? Hunter wants a mulligan because he doesn't want to set for a depot. And he's saying that the fires are a convenient excuse for him to get out of this. Now, anybody who lost their house is rightfully sad, and it's a tragedy, right? But Hunter didn't own the house, Benny. It was a rental. Yeah. So he doesn't even have to deal with the insurance claim. You and I, real adults, right, with mortgages maybe and home insurance claims, that's what Hunter doesn't have to deal with because he's a Biden. And as Joe said on a hot mic to the mayor of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, nobody F's with a Biden. So normal things like homeowners policies, Hunter doesn't have to deal with that. That's for the little people, the hoi polloi. So we're not going to lay over and die this easily. We want our fees reimbursed, and for Kevin Morris and Hunter Biden to shut up about me. They put in their papers yesterday that I hacked his iCloud. Benny, I know this is a soliloquy, but this is my last statement. I can't even hack an iCloud if I tried. You know why? Because I can't do it. I'm not technically proficient. I can write, and I have a BA in economics. If I'm guilty of what Hunter is accusing me of, Apple would pay me like a $10 million bounty because they pay that much to patch bugs in their system. I can't hack an iCloud. That's preposterous. We got a standalone hard drive of his corruption, drugs, and business deals and put it into a report. Nothing was connected to the internet. They sued us under a criminal statute, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. I'm not a hacker, man. It's all bogus.
The FBI, in a moment of absolute shock, walked up in his trial in Delaware and held up the Hunter Biden laptop.
True.
And said, not only is this evidence that we're going to enter into the court, it's all true, and we've had it since 2018. And thus, effectively destroying any argument that Hunter might have that you hacked anything or stole anything, because the FBI has the damn laptop.
Precisely. For me to be guilty of what he's accusing me of, and again, he's asking for millions of dollars. His sugar brother is suing me for $60 million. I've had this albatross, this man-child over my neck for 22 months now. He's asking $60 million for something that I just did that everybody had. The New York Post had this, the Daily Mail. We have a malicious prosecution claim against Hunter. He's lucky I'm not litigious because they're suing us for something that all these other people did.
These bastards need to be, hit back a little bit.
Well, I'll leave that to somebody else because
over, right?
I love my attorney, but in general, I hate lawyers. So I want to spend a little amount of time as possible dealing with this because I want to move on. Because again, Hunter is not the reason why we were interested in this case. I know he's on the cover of the book, but the reason why it's called the Biden laptop, and everybody can go read this for free. You don't have to buy this, although we would like you to. The book is free, bidenreport.com, bidenreport.com. But the reason why it's called the Biden Report is because our interest lies in Joe. Our interest lies in the dad, not the son. This was all a RICO operation to funnel cash to Joe. And, if anybody doubts that Joe's a bad father, why is he letting his son humiliate himself like this? Joe has a beach house in Rehoboth Beach. I just looked up the Realtor.com listing, 4.1 million, Benny. Why doesn't Joe liquidate that and pay for his son if he's such a good dad? You and I are fathers. If my son, I would never let my son humiliate himself like this. I'd liquidate the beach house.
Yes. So can we unpack that? I know that you're up against a hard out, but really quickly here. This was a criminal case against Joe Biden.
Precisely.
This investigation is Joe Biden. Obviously, clearly, you call him a man-child, and I just have to put this up. Here he is doing what I have like a 2-year-old, right? First off, she paints better than this, and second off, he's doing like a little. He's in his 50s here, and he's doing like what you would do in art class in preschool.
Yes,
he is truly a man-child. He has no discernible talents, no discernible skill. He squandered and lit everything on fire, lied to his family. He's the biggest scumbag on earth. And Joe Biden decided to run for president while his kid's addicted to crack. Not only one kid, but the three adult children addicted to crack cocaine with suicidality, according to their own writings.
Yes.
And Joe Biden decides to run for president in that environment. The hardest thing you can do. What does this say about Joe Biden? And then secondarily, Garrett, what should happen to Joe Biden? Would you be in favor of a proper investigation into Joe Biden?
Second question first. Absolutely. And I think that the number one thing that needs to be probed is justice has to be done. And how you do that is test the legality. I personally think he has a good argument for the blanket pardons, but there are more articulate people than me that say if you do not specify which crimes you're getting pardoned for, they don't hold up in court. Remember, the pardon that Ford gave to Nixon went unchallenged, meaning it's never been tested before. I would love SCOTUS to weigh in on this. I would love for there to be a SCOTUS case on Biden v. U.S. and for us to be able to dig into precisely which crimes Joe said he's pardoning Hunter for. Now, he did do the 2 cases, one in Central District of California and one in the District of Delaware. But all of this uncharged conduct from 2014 on, I wonder what that is. Well, you can go find it in BidenReport.com, at least 85% of it. But the other 15% that we don't know about because we're not the feds, I would love for that to be litigated in SCOTUS and for Joe to have to answer for his official act, because remember, they're Margaret Wheeler and all these other paid propagandists for Hunter are very interested in the line of official acts, because that's what the SCOTUS decision in Trump v. U.S. was about. What is an official act? Would love for Joe to have to testify about his official act of pardoning his son and have to specify with granularity about which crimes he pardoned him for. It hasn't been tested. I think it'd be a great thing to litigate.
Joe wasn't president. Final question. Joe wasn't president when many of these crimes were taking place. You have them detailed in the laptop. Joe wasn't vice president either, but there's no vice presidential immunity ruling. There's just a presidential immunity. So presumably you really could crack open a criminal case on Joe Biden, yes?
Yes, and with somebody like, you have millions of viewers, obviously, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring up that even if the feds are cowardly, we need to look into state AGs. I used to talk to Landry in Louisiana, but also there's crimes in Arkansas. Hunter's financial advisor in Arkansas, Edward Pruitt, his old one, lives in Fayetteville. So what does that mean? That means every single wire transfer that touched Edward Pruitt, the Arkansas AG has jurisdiction over that. And the left discovered this cheat code in New York, meaning even if Trump is president, he arguably can't pardon himself for the ridiculous New York case. So AGs really need to look hard and investigate Hunter on the state level crimes, because his daddy didn't protect him there.
Wow. Okay, so that's how they could actually end around and get past.
Yeah, that's the only way. And some of those are running out of statute of limitations time. So if you have the AG of Arkansas on, put him in the hot seat, because I can't effectuate that. I can just this is, by the way, we have no delusions. We don't think this is going to be, although it has been a trial exhibit, we don't expect the prosecutors to hold this up in court. All this is a roadmap. This thing is a roadmap for subpoena issuing. If you want to know who to subpoena for which time periods and what to gather, that's what this book is for. And so they have the statutory authority and they should use it.
They ran a massive fraud here in the state of Florida, and it pisses us off so much, and we keep asking, and we hit brick walls with the Attorney General here. Like we cannot get anybody to say, yeah, sure, why not? Like open up a criminal investigation of the Bidens.
Yeah.
Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for having me on.
Our time is short. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again after the judge decides.
Yes, that's exactly right. Everybody go follow Marco Polo. 217,000 followers. Garrett Ziegler, an absolute patriot and fearless, brave man. Godspeed, sir.
Thank you for having me on.
What a absolutely wild time. We thought we'd have a ton more time, ladies and gentlemen, to develop all of this and to talk through all of this, but at time of recording, we punch the live button, and then ALX comes over the top, and he goes, yo, Trump's going to be live. so there goes 30 minutes, and we were thrilled to watch it. But what it does is it throws off some of the order of the show. And so we're thankful for both of our guests to be able to stay on, if even in truncated form. The secretary, that marks 4 of Trump's secretaries that have been on the program in 3 days, which is awesome. Brooks Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture, Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security, and now Doug Collins. So we're really excited to be bringing you the front seat to the golden era. Lock in and make sure you're tuning in with your Patriot mobile device. Make sure you're watching, ladies and gentlemen, on a device that, much like the golden era, will give you golden coverage and not allow you to fund the left. This is something that's very important to us, obviously. Patriot Mobile is the only Christian conservative wireless provider in the country. They provide exceptional cell phone service to us, our listeners, to our show, to our program. We're traveling at a blistering pace throughout the East Coast. Man, we were locked in. Baby Klein, we were like posting, going viral. Like before, we had the entire, it was incredible. Klein and I go to the airport in LaGuardia. We got this like long delay. And he looks at me and he's like, is all of our content up? We're like, yes, all the content's up. All of it was up because we were locked in and dialed in. Patriot Mobile helped us get there. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/Benny and call 972-PATRIOT for a free month of service. Promo code Benny. Switch to Patriot Mobile today to defend freedom with every single call or text that you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. All right, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of people who are not patriots, I just wanted to cover very quickly Hunter Biden and what we were talking about with Garrett. I do my very best to make sure that all of our guests have a little bit of a preview before we dive right in, because I want to sort of set the table, as it were. Look at this. Watch. President Trump takes questions from the Oval Office. Bro, we beat Fox. We were live when Fox wasn't live for Trump. Okay. Hey, I don't run Fox. Okay. No hate, but we were the only people streaming. Okay, because we were locked in and we were ready to go. Hunter Biden's financial woes revealed in new motion to drop lawsuit. Significant debt. Oh wow. Would you look at this? Boy, what a fraud on the American people. I got to talk to Garrett for another 2 hours. Guy's awesome. Here we go. In the second and third years of my dad's presidency, we call it the residency of the White House, I sold 27 pieces of art for an average of $55,000. $55,000 for this. It looks like an oil stain on the bottom of a car dealership. This looks like an STD, is what this looks like. And you know what? Paint what you know. And if you look at any of Hunter Biden's laptop, you'll realize that he's probably well familiar with STDs. Look at this. Oh boy. Yikes. $50,000 for this. I'm telling you that right now, Grok AI could paint you something that's far superior to this. They wrote up articles. They wrote big, glossy articles about how great Hunter Biden is, how great of an artist he is. But now look, since then, I sold one piece of art for $36,000. Similarly, for my book sales in 6 months before the statements, I sold 3,000 copies of my book. But since I've sold only 1,000, what this means, he also says he expected to be paid speaking engagements. Hunter Biden wanted you to pay him to come speak. What would Hunter Biden have told you? What story would Hunter Biden have told you? Probably this.
Cocaine. I probably smoke more Parmesan cheese than anyone that you know, I'm sure, Tracy.
Look at the press laughing. Look at them giggling about that. You smoke Parmesan cheese out of the carpet. We love you. We love you. So amazing. Oh, these scumbags. It is important. Because the news cycle is the speed of a gnat, it's important to just remind ourselves what we've been through. This guy was literally in the Situation Room with Joe Biden, making national security decisions. This guy. Apparently, White House staffers were horrified about it.
Tonight, NBC reports that first son, Hunter Biden, joined meetings with the president and senior staff this week in the West Wing. Reaction from senior staff described as, "What the hell is happening?" The White House had this explanation.
He came back with his dad from Camp David. He walked him into the speech prep, and he was in the room.
He was in the room, okay? Well, now that Daddy is no longer sentient and is probably in hospice, have you seen Joe Biden? I haven't seen Joe Biden. There's only one time you saw Joe Biden. There's one clip of Joe Biden at some bakery, and he has this giant bruise on his face. It's weird. I don't know what's going on with this guy. Anyway, Hunter Biden, saying he's dead broke, is now seeking to dismiss his lawsuit against Marco Polo for publishing the rightful contents of his laptop, as you just heard Garrett explain. Normally, I would sort of build into the story and then bring Garrett on the show, but we had to work with time restraints here. So we're doing it in reverse. So Hunter Biden is saying that now his business has been very badly impacted by President Trump's victory and Joe Biden's being sent off into to pasture, as they say. I want to establish one very important thing, that Hunter Biden, in the same time that he was texting the mother of his children, that he got addicted to crack cocaine, by the way, okay? Somebody named Naomi Biden. Hunter Biden addicts his wife to crack, then goes on a philandering rampage. She divorces him. She's still addicted to crack. She's texting him, can you please help me with alimony? Can you please help me raise my kids? Raise our kids, correction? We're desperate here. We need help financially. Didn't you get all like billions of dollars from the Chinese and Ukrainians and every terrorist group in the world? Hunter Biden texts her back, according to the court filings. Texts her back, I'm broke. I don't have any money. The same year, he's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on hookers, adult entertainment, payments to various women. This guy's a piece of filth. And rehab, that's right. Yeah, just and rehab. That's right. Look at this. $700,000 on payments to various women. You don't really, I'll let your imagination fill in the blank. If you look through Hunter Biden's laptop, you don't even have to fill in the blank. Look at this. Child care, home help, and cleaning, $39,000. So he spent 40 times more on hookers than he spent on child care for his own children. And Joe Biden said, Hunter Biden is the smartest man I know. These people are complete garbage. They're such scum. They're filth. They're despicable. And we've pulled like a nosedive, pulled out of a nosedive in this country. And it's thanks to you, thanks to the Patriots and this audience that did that. Right there. That's the United States of America map country.